I'm Sandra B., mindset strategist and architect of resilient influence. My work here is simple. I help high responsibility women build identity strong enough to hold them when the pressure is high, the decisions are heavy, and the stakes are real. Because the woman who knows who she is, she can handle anything. So welcome. Today we will be speaking about Ruth. We are doing a series on an incredible woman who showed up imperfectly, and we're happy to show up imperfectly, and we're able to achieve things in history that no other woman has. If you believe you are that kind of woman and you are called to lead, then this one is for you. Today we'll be talking about Ruth. Ruth teaches us how to be loyal and committed, even in loss, even when we have lost everything. She teaches us that commitment to your word is important. Character is important. Taking shortcuts is not part of who you are. So what do you do when everything you built around in your life is gone? That's the story of Ruth. I'm going to read what I wrote here. So today we're examining influence through faithfulness, because there are seasons in our lives where leadership has no reward, has no one to clap for us, has no one saying, you did well, nobody being happy for you. It just shows you showing up for yourself because you believe in what you have been called to. I'll tell you a quick story of Ruth from my favorite book, the Bible, and the book of Ruth is in there. So we meet a young woman. She's a Moabite. And back then, the Moabites were a disgraced nation. People did not think much about them. She had married an Israelite from a family of the line of, I can't remember now, I don't want to lie. Anyway, she married an Israelite who had moved into her country. She married him. Then her husband died. She was young, she was beautiful, but her husband died. Her father-in-law had already died, and then her brother-in-law also died. Now she had a very bitter mother-in-law who was left behind. And because the mother-in-law, Naomi, realized that there was nothing left for her in the land of the Moabite, she decided she's going to leave and go start her life over with whatever little that was left. And Ruth, being the kind of woman that she is, because she had made a promise, not necessarily to Naomi, but to her husband. She had made a covenant with her husband, and she was going to look after this woman who had now become her mom. So Naomi says to Ruth, hey Ruth, I'm leaving. I'm going back to the land of my people, and you should stay here, find another woman, because there was another girl, her sister-in-law, Orpah, who had decided, she's going to say, that you must stay here. You're still young and beautiful. You can marry somebody else and start your life over. But now Ruth is like, no, Ruth, no, Naomi, I'm coming with you because I want to come and live your life. I want to look after you. She says to her, your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. Basically, let's go struggle this thing together, see how it's going to work out for both of us. The other daughter-in-law decided to stay. I probably would have done the same, but we'll see. She decided to stay because that's the kind of woman she is. And she was not staying under great circumstances. This woman, Naomi, her mother-in-law, had lost everything. And she, on top of that all, she was bitter. I'm sure we have all had experiences of working and dealing with a bitter person. They are impossible to deal with. So Ruth is not swayed by that because she's a woman of her word. So Naomi and Ruth kiss goodbye to Orpah and they go on their way. Now Ruth was leaving her homeland, her culture, her family, her language, everything that was familiar to her. I know a little about that, about leaving everything that's familiar to you. But for me, I didn't leave by choice. I left as a refugee child, lost everything. And leaving your country to a country that you have no idea what to expect is not for the faint-hearted. So she decided she's going to go to this foreign country a Moabite on top of it all, to be in Israel, that a disaster. I know all about that because when I was as a refugee, I used to be called a kwere, very degrading. So I know all about arriving in a country where you are not wanted. Ruth had the same idea, but for her, it was by choice. Anyway, she had no guarantee that anything was going to work, no provision, no one waiting for her to welcome her, no guarantee that her loyalty to Naomi will be rewarded. But she decided she's going to do this, a woman of her word. Now, I want to look at what identity anchor Ruth had to be able to do such a thing, because a woman whose identity is anchored is able to take on any challenge because she realizes that the outcome of whatever she goes on is not dependent upon her as a person, because her character is anchored in who she is and whose she is, not necessarily what she can or cannot achieve. So Ruth says to Naomi in that moment, like one of the most profound things. I've said it already. Where you go, I'll go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. She's not making a practical decision. It's not practical for her to leave her country and her people. She's making an identity declaration. She is choosing who she's going to be regardless of what it costs her. She's choosing who she's going to be regardless of what it's going to cost her. Regardless of what she has to leave behind, regardless of what lies ahead. Many of us often consider only the cost of what we are going to lose when we do something, but very often we don't ever consider what we are losing when we are not doing what we are called to do. Her identity was not tied to comfort, familiarity, or guaranteed outcome. It was tied to covenant, to a commitment she had made, and she's choosing to honor that commitment even when she was released from it. This, for Ruth, it was not an obligation. This was anchored character. Are we women of anchored character? Are we women that are going to keep their covenant even when things get tough? I know culture says you must leave when things get hard. But should we though? What does the word of God say? Yeah. Anyway, let's carry on. So let's look at the resilient decision that Ruth made. She arrives. Remember, she's just left her country. She's leaving with a very bitter and tired mother-in-law, but she's showing up because she made a promise. She was willing to do any work in order to support herself and Naomi. She does not wait for someone to give her an opportunity, someone to feel sorry for her. She goes to the field at the guidance of her mother-in-law. She begins to glean the humblest form of provision available, reserved for the poor people and for foreigners at the time. Are you willing to be a starter? Are you willing to do something you said you would never do? Are you willing to start at the bottom? Because if your character is anchored, it doesn't matter where you start. It does not define you. It doesn't define you. So are you willing to do that? Ruth had no self-pity, no bitterness, because remember, she had made the decision about who she's going to become before she arrived there. For us, one of the lessons is decide who you are going to be before the challenges arrive. Because when the challenges arrive, You've already decided who you are, so you are not swayed by the outcome around you. The internal anchoring will hold you because you've already decided. So decide who you are going to be. And that's why she had no self-pity, no blaming, no resentment about where she ended up. She simply identified what needed to be done and she got it done. Simple. She got it done. She works diligently. I've got my notes here. She works diligently with dignity, without complaint, and in doing so, she places herself exactly where the next chapter of her life unfolded. Sometimes we think things are going to come to our door. No. We have to be intentional about where we place ourselves, because where we place ourselves is exactly where the next chapter of our lives is going to unfold. Not in the waiting for the right moment, not in waiting for perfection. None of that. It's just simply showing up. Show up imperfectly. Show up. Show up. In her, just simply showing up, she proves that identity stability under pressure is not the absence of hardship. It's the refusal to let the hardship determine your posture. You have to speak to yourself, not to allow the hardship to determine your posture. Choose not to allow it to determine your posture. You decide how this is going to end. You decide, not the environment, not the people, not the hardship. You get to decide how this is going to end. And how did that thing unfold? As she was there, gleaming, minding her own business, the owner of the land notices her because his people noticed how hard she was working, and her reputation preceded her before she had arrived. What does your reputation say about you? Is it good or is it bad? Because sometimes our reputation is the only currency we have. That's all. So build your reputation wisely from authenticity, integrity, and character. It will arrive before you walk into the room, and that will be the thing that carries you. And here's what he says to her. I have been told of all that you have done for your mother-in-law, all the kindness you have shown her. Everyone in town knows what kind of woman you are. What kind of woman are you? Are you the one who uses people to get to the top? Are you the one who always takes without serving? Are you the one that gets to know people simply because of the doors they can open for you, or simply because of who they know? Or are you a kind of woman that is willing to do the work diligently, without complaint, with the right posture, even no one is noticing? Are you that kind of woman? Had faithfulness in private had become her testimony in public. That's so powerful. Her loyal commitment in a season of loss had built an influence she was not even aware that she was carrying. Let that encourage you. She marries Boaz. She has a son named Obed. Obed becomes the father of Jesse. Jesse becomes the father of David. And Ruth, the foreign widow who stayed when she could have left, finds herself written permanently in the lineage of Jesus Christ. That is powerful. Powerful. Faithfulness in obscurity is never wasted. It's always building something. Always. Even when you don't see it. Show up. Show up. How do we translate it today? In leadership today, in modern leadership, there is an enormous pressure to be visible, to be recognized, to build a platform, to grow your following, and make sure your contribution is seen and credited. I agree with all of that stuff. But Ruth's life teaches something differently. It teaches us something regularly. She was not building a brand, she was building character. She was not managing a reputation, she was living one. She was not networking her way into opportunity. She was faithful in the small, unglamorous daily work. And the opportunities found her. May that be a lesson to you and I. You may be the woman that listening to this, your season feels invisible, your faithfulness is not recognized, but you have stayed committed and nobody is noticing you. Stay faithful, stay unreasonable, build your character, build in the darkness, because your time is coming. Your faithfulness is not invisible to God. When you build something with character, when you build something rightly, the significance will be felt for generations to come, just like Ruth. Now, I want to ask you a question. And before I ask you a question, I want to honor something. Staying in whatever God has called you is one of the most underrated forms of courage in leadership. In a culture that celebrates pivot, culture that celebrates leaving all the time, the culture that celebrates rebrand and refresh, the woman who stays faithful in a hard season, in an unglamorous assignment, in a relationship that cost her, and I'm not talking about abuse because we like to take it to the extreme, that woman is doing something profound. And may we be found to be those women. Where are you being called to stay when everything around you says leave? Where has your faithfulness felt invisible? And what would it mean to trust just one more time? Just one more time. Trust one more time. Ruth did not have a platform. She did not have a title. She did not have a strategic plan or guarantee of outcome. I mean, Naomi could have done anything. She had loyalty, she had diligence, she had character so consistent that it became her testimony before she ever said a word. And her faithfulness in obscurity changed the course of history. Because identity stability under pressure produces resilient influence. That's all I got for today. See you tomorrow.